So on the day of the shoot, we actually have a lot of scenes to be, shot as quickly as possible, because you have to save time, you have to save money, you have to save resources, right? So we do it all quickly. It's like just take the scene and 2-3 shots, and if the director feels it's perfect, done, let's move to the next. So as quickly as we can complete it, because short films don't have a huge budget like in Yash Raj film, right?
No rain.
Well, folks, welcome to the Naren Agarwal show. I'm so happy that you guys are back, and today I have a showman here. This guy is amazing. He's in my Toastmasters club here in Kolkata. We do public speaking together. But more than that, this guy is super interesting. He is an ex-journalist and used to work for one of the biggest news channels in India, NDTV. But he left the job for multiple reasons. One, to follow his heart. He's a man who follows his heart. He runs a whole institute where he loves to teach children. He does that. But more importantly, he also has a production house in Kolkata, in Bengal, and they make very unconventional short stories with powerful messages. I mean, I'm so excited for this conversation. Welcoming my dear friend and a showman that I really look up to, Mr. Gurpreet Singh.
Thank you so much, Naren. Indeed, I'm looking forward. I am excited to be here. Looking forward. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. So, Gurpreet, brother, tell me about the production house. That's something I'm very curious about. So, you run a small production house here in Calcutta. In the regional language, you guys make a lot of short films. So, tell me what led to that. What is this production house about? Why do you guys make films without any dialogue? These are all silent films predominantly, right? So, please tell us about it.
So, basically this happened around 3-4 years back when I interacted with this young boy. He's around 20-21. He's just in the second year of his college. He was in class 12 when he came up to me and he said, what? He used to call me sir, And sir, I think I have a story. Would you like to do a short film with me? I said, come on, man, you're pretty young. What are you going to do with me? Right. So I was like quite surprised. But then he came up with a story. I said, okay, chalo, let's see what happens. So he came up with a story and I read the script and I asked him, like, who's going to direct it like this? We need to have a director. He said, I'll take care of it. I said, you have the script. You want to direct it. What are you planning to do? He said, you just leave it to me. And I said, fine. And I agreed, since, I saw the enthusiasm in him. I said, let's do it. And then somehow, he came up, we fixed a date and we started shooting stuff. And the end product that came out was really good, And that film went on to get nominations for 3 film festivals. And I was literally shocked, this young boy, at that point of time, he was 18. Today he's 21, 22. But at the age of 18, somebody comes up with an engaging script, and that too manages to get you, 3 nominations at different renowned film fair festivals. That's a huge achievement. I've done so many films, right? Short films, but none of them are with experienced people though. And none of them actually went to the film fair. Or I'm sorry, not film fair. I'm thinking about film fair, but to these international festivals. But this fellow, this young guy, I don't know, they say there is an innate talent in all of us. You might go to an institute and learn things, but that innate talent at the end of the day really matters. I saw the spark in this guy and we still work together. And after that film, we decided, why not start up our own production house? And he was also looking for work. I said, fine, let's do something. And thereupon we came with this production house, which he named himself. He prepared the logo and stuff. And he named this Icche Manush. Icche Manush means Icche, which means wish. Icche means wish. Manush means person. So we are people, artistic people, can come up with any artistic stuff at any point of time. It's their own wish and luxury. So that is why he said, let's have something like Icche Manush. Let's produce things out of our own wish. Let's not follow something that is already there, not conventional. Let's move apart, think something that is unconventional. And that is how Icche Manush was actually, born, I would say. It's a child.
A person with a wish. A person with a wish. That's the name of your production.
Exactly.
That's beautiful. Why do you choose to make movies with no dialogues? These are all silent movies, and silent movies tend to be a little more intense, and it's very tough to convey a message without dialogue. Why do you choose to do this, and what are the challenges that come with it, and how do you tackle those challenges?
Right. So we basically choose, such films without dialogues is because, first of all, to be very honest, it saves cost. dubbing costs for that matter, on a
Ichhe
humorous
Manush.
note. Right? No, on a serious note, conveying a story, reaching out to people with dialogues, I believe is easier than trying to project something without dialogues, because that involves expressions that brings out the true actor in you. Whether you are able to convey your story with your expressions, right? And at the end of the day, we believe as a production house, as a unit, we believe that the content is more important than what your cinematographer does. Your content is more important than those slushy dialogues. What comes out at the end of the day, people, there's something called non-verbal communication, right? And that is exactly, as a Toastmaster, I'm applying that non-verbal communication out there to reach out to people, project a message, something that's related to the society on the large. We recently did this story I was telling you, which got nominated for 3 international international awards. And what actually happened over there was, this story is basically the name of the short film. If you go on YouTube and search it, it's called Kalane. Kalane means, in Bengali, it's a slang which means a dumb-headed idiot person. But it is actually without dialogues, and it is trying to portray the protagonist out there. I played the lead role. The protagonist out there is somebody who does not understand the complexities of the society. He is a grown-up, but then his heart is still innocent. He's innocent
very
at heart.
simple-headed,
Very
simple-hearted
simple.
person. Yeah.
Exactly. He's that kind of a person. Now, what happens is, when you are like that, society gets an opportunity to suppress you all the more. So that is what society does to him. Society realizes that this person is not going to protest, so let's torture him all the more. And they keep torturing him till brimful. And there's a point when I just cannot take it anymore, and then I indulge in something that is not expected of me. So that's what the story is all about. Now, the tortures that were inflicted upon me as a character of that film, so I took those tortures, I absorbed them. But end of the day, there's a limit to everything. And when it comes to the brimful, then that has to emotions burst
Pressure
out.
cooker comes out. The pressure cooker just brings a whistle out.
Right. And what exactly leads, what exactly happens when I just cannot absorb that societal pressure, that torture anymore, is what this story is all about.
That is amazing. What's the name of the story, and where can we find it if you want to watch it?
It's you go to Ichhe Manush, ICHEY, Ichhe Manush, MANUSH. That's the YouTube page. I mean the account. You just type Kalane, KELANE. That's a short film. You can just watch it. So the first challenge which basically arises is, whether I will be able to convey to my audience what exactly I would like to convey if I had used words. Right? If I use words, the message is very clear. It goes to you at once. But then I'm using expressions. So the basic challenge is, for a normal film with dialogues, you need, say, a week of workshop. But when you are having such a film, you're working on such a film, it involves a month of workshop, where the director literally heckles you and wants the best out of you. And I remember when I was doing this film, this director came up to me, this young boy, he came up to me, said, "Sir, I want you to undergo a workshop." And I was like, I tried to prove the Salman Khan and Shah Rukh Khan, you give me the script, chalta hai, ho jayega attitude, and I'll do it.
Happen,
Yeah, but the day he came over, for the workshops, I was literally so bad at it. I realized for the first time that with dialogues, your acting just goes on smoothly, but without dialogues, it's a hell of a journey. It's very difficult. And that day I realized that in order to become a good actor, it's important that you first, polish your non-verbal skills in acting, because unless and until you do that, it's going to be very difficult even with dialogues. So that is one greatest challenge you face as an actor.
That is deep. So you went through a workshop and you mastered that skill. So what are some things that you still do to enhance your acting skills and non-verbal skills for such challenging roles that might come up? What are some personal practices that you do, because you're the lead actor in this whole production?
So what basically I do is, when there's nobody at home, for this non-verbal kind of acting, if there are people at home, it becomes very difficult. They think you have actually gone crazy. So what happens is, I literally do this in 2 places. One in front of the mirror. I make very strange faces, and I try to see whether I am able to kind of convey a kind of message. using my eyes. So that is one exercise I do when there's nobody around. Of course, if people are around, I remember my mother, seeing me do that, and she thought I was literally going crazy day by day. And the other thing is I practiced, it's very hilarious, but I do it in the washroom, in the bathroom, when I go in to take my bath, my shower, and I literally take 40 to 45 minutes in the bathroom just to have a shower. People think, I don't know, God knows what I do inside the bathroom, but I do two things. I practice my singing skills, number one.
Okay, I was
I'm a
gonna ask,
bathroom.
are you a bathroom actor or a bathroom singer or both?
I'm
You're a
literally
bathroom
both.
actor and singer.
So in the bathroom, what I do is I sing, and with that, I try to add emotions and do some acting with that.
Yeah.
So it's just simultaneously. So I take around 40-45 minutes. I do this. But on a serious note, yes, there are some other exercises of the face, where you can just make different faces. That happens in front of the mirror, because unless and until you see yourself, so that's an expression of surprise. Something, because you have different expressions, like to convey a sad expression when you're crying, a soundless weeping, an oxymoron, but a soundless weeping, that is one. So you are crying, but then people can literally see your face, and this guy's crying, but then there's no sound. So that is another part of acting. And as far as uh, you know acting with dialogues and stuff is concerned, there is voice modulation, which you need to practice. There are some basic exercises which we do from time to time. So that's it.
Wow. I think what's really powerful about a silent film is that it is cross borders. You don't need dialogues, and there's no dialogues to distract you if you don't know the language or not. It doesn't matter. It's really cross borders, and it also shows how we as humans um, have this underlying language. And of course, there is differences in non-verbal cues as well. But overall, I would say at least 80% of the non-verbal cues can easily be sensed and immortalized through these non-verbal messages. So it's amazing that you're doing these short films. So you said these films have gone to the international space as well, and some people have noticed these films. What are some reactions? Do you see the reactions from an international audience same as the ones that are local? And is it because of the nature of the film? Brother, another question I had for you is, when you are doing a lot of these silent films, do you have cross actors in front of you? And then how do you practice with those actors? Because when you have a dialogue, it's easy to give the cue to the next actor. Because I said this, and then you say this. But when you're doing a non-verbal film, what kind of preparation and communication you need to have with your co-actors to prepare and be synchronized in the film?
Okay. So what happens is, as I told you, we undergo a workshop. So there's an individual workshop where you individually go training for say 15, 16 days. And for the latter half of the month, you have all the actors in one place. And so the entire thing is rehearsed like a drama. Okay. So it's basically you are staging a drama, the entire scene by scene, it's rehearsed for around 15, 16 days, so that we know that at this point of time, if I am crying and if somebody is torturing me, the expression on that person's face should be like that. So on the day of the shoot, we actually have a lot of scenes to be shot as quickly as possible, because you have to save time, you have to save money, you have to save resources, right? So we do it all quickly. It's like just take the scene and 2-3 shots, and if the director feels it's perfect, done, let's move to the next. So as quickly as we can complete it, because short films don't have a huge budget like in Yash Raj film, right? So it has a very minimum budget, and we need to make sure that the camera person is paid. We need to make sure that the spot boy is arranging stuff, food, and there are a lot of things which need to be covered. So with making quality films in a very small budget is very difficult. So unless you have a 15-16 day practice, unless your actors know how to respond, when to respond, so that becomes very difficult, and that happens in those 15-16 days. And normally what we do in a production house is, we when we are making such a film, we normally have actors who are comfortable with a set of actors, so that makes it easier. So we know that this person is going to respond this way, because I have seen his or her acting for the last 1 year. So I know what are his advantages, or weaklings and strong points. So if I feel that this actor's weakling is in this particular point, so what I do is I try to overdo, and I try to hide or suppress his or her weakling. So that happens at my end also, because we are not geniuses, right? So if I have a weak link, so the director understands that and tries to cover it up, perhaps with a different angle and shot. So that also happens at point. And in the edit table also, a lot of things happen. You must be knowing it pretty well.
That's amazing. What a cool story and sharing. Gurpreet brother, you also starred in a big commercial Bengali movie called Mon Jane Na across Mimi Chakraborty, who's a famous Bengali actress, and you had a negative character.
Right.
So they say when you get into a negative character, you really need to practice it and you need to get in the mind frame. And what is that process like? Internally, do you feel like a resistance when you go and do a very negative character in the film? Do you get used to it as time passes as an actor, or do you still have a tough time portraying a negative image with your face on the screen? How does that work?
Okay. Now, to be very honest, if I think about, if I think about myself on the big screen, I've always imagined myself um as a protagonist, as a lead actor, or maybe lead actor's brother, second actor. But when this film came up, and I was called for the auditions, so I went to the Sri Venkatesh Films, their office, and I was asked to come over for an audition. I thought maybe I'm getting a big break, so let's just go and let's see what happens. So I went there for the audition, and they looked at me, they looked at me straight, and height is good. The first reaction, the height is good, uh, but you're a non-Bengali. Are you comfortable with Bengali? I said, and I responded in Bengali. Right? I said, I'm comfortable in Bengali, and they were like literally shocked. This fellow is speaking clear Bengali. Like,
Yeah.
are you a true Punjabi? I said, yes, I am. But end of the day, they looked at me and they said, okay, he's fine. What you do is you come on a certain date. I said, fine, I'll come. We'll give you a call. So they gave me a call a couple of days later. They called me up and they called me to the office again. I came and they gave me a script, right? They gave me a script of 4 or 5 lines. They told me memorize it as quickly as possible. They gave me 2 minutes to memorize it, okay, 5 lines. And in those 2 minutes, I must know the lines. I must know the exact emotion that these lines are trying to portray. I need to, absorb them and then vomit out the lectures. So that is what they were expecting of me in 2 minutes. So I read the entire script. I understood this is like, this is not a lead actor's dialogue, right? This has to be some negative actors because it has those lines. So I understood something is wrong. I said, fine, still, let's do it. Right. So nobody gets an opportunity like this. I'm getting it, and that was such a big banner in the Bengali film industry. It's Sri Venkatesh Films. Let's just go ahead. So there was this lady and this gentleman, and they told me, okay, stand. This is your frame. They were holding a camera, and they said, "Chalo, start." And I delivered the dialogues. They said, "Fine, it's okay." Now they started giving me certain situations. Right. So if you see the film, I'm a drug peddler out there. Right. Okay. I'm a drug peddler selling drugs to Mimi Chakraborty in the film. So they started giving me certain situations. Say you are drunk, right? It was not in the script. The script is done away with. Now, all of a sudden it cropped up. Say you are drunk and you are returning home and you are that person who is a sophisticated drunkard. It's not like, some other drunkard who's lying in the drain or something, not that kind of a drunkard. So a sophisticated drunkard with the blazer here, and returning home, tie, here and there, ruffled hair.
Corporate office, the Friday done, had a bunch of alcohol.
Exactly. And I'm not a drinker, to be very honest, and I've never experienced that, but I've seen people, I've observed them. The actor's main work is observation. I've observed them, right? And I tried to do that, and I did that. They liked it. Then they started giving me a few more situations. And ultimately, after 3-4 situations, they felt, okay, we can have him as a character. And then they said, fine, you can leave. We'll let you know if it happens. I thought maybe chance gone with the wind. But, a couple of days later, again, they gave me a call that you need to come. We need to finalize the name of the character. We need to sign the contract and stuff. So could you just come over? I was like so elated. I went there. And they made me sit the entire day, but I didn't, moan over that fact that I had to sit the entire day. I know, just starting my career, I need to obey them. I'm not a Shah Rukh Khan or a Salman Khan who goes in, signs the contract and leaves. So I had to sit the entire day. I had to literally earn my position. I did. And I somehow, managed to do the film. And
That's
that's it.
amazing. Many congratulations. What a cool story.
Thank you.
That's a
Thank
real actor hustle story right there. Amazing. And the best part is you were thrown an opportunity and you took it and you showed up. I think
you. Exactly.
half of getting things done and half of achieving success in life is showing up. We just never show up most of the time. And the fact that you showed up, you made it happen. That's amazing. Brother, one question about acting is, what are the main communication challenges an actor faces, and how can an actor overcome that? And how does an actor look at the world and the world of communication from their lens that a normal person maybe wouldn't?
Okay. So acting at the end of the day is all about communication, right? Now, if you are given a role, like I was talking about the drunkard, right? You've never experienced it. You're not a drunkard yourself, but you need to convey the message that you are drunk, or at least you need to behave in a certain way so that my audience feels that, yes, I'm drunk and I'm returning home. Now, when I was given this particular role of a drug peddler, imagine of somebody who hasn't touched alcohol all his life is there selling drugs. So I went to the sets, and on the day of the shoot, and I saw this lady who was the director. Her name is Shagufta Rafiq. If you don't know her, she's the writer of Ras 3 and many other films out there. She is from the Mahesh Bhatt camp, and she was here. It was her first debut in Bengal. So it was her first movie, Shagufta Rafiq. So she was the director. So I was quite excited. Somebody from Bombay, Mumbai is coming here to make a film. So probably if I can be the apple of her eyes, probably I'll get a scope somewhere in Mumbai.
Yeah,
So you go with a lot of thoughts, right? An actor goes with a lot of thoughts. So I reached the sets. They told me, come at 9 o'clock. So I reached at 8:30, all excited. And she walked in at 9:30, and she was literally frustrated. She was shouting because she wanted a particular room, the drug peddler's room, to be designed in a certain way. And it was not actually designed according to what she had, wanted or desired. She literally started showing tantrums. And imagine, it's your first film, commercial film, and you see the director behaving like you hear about these things outside, that they show tantrums and some. And when you literally get to say, my heartbeat, literally, first I was worried, like, what am I going to do opposite
I
Mimi?
better don't do anything wrong.
Yeah. First I couldn't sleep the entire night last night because I was worried Mimi is going to come in front of me. I've never faced her. This is my first time. I don't know. She's an experienced actress. She is the member of parliament. What's going to happen? So a lot of thoughts, coming into your head. But, and you go in the morning and you see the director throwing tantrums. So it becomes a huge problem. So the shoot, which was supposed to start at 10 in the morning, started at 4 in the evening. Right? It started at 4 in the evening. So they gave a hefty lunch and stuff. We ate. I was so relaxed, But heart of hearts, I was worrying what's going to happen after this, what's going to happen. So finally they set up the room. They took me inside. And when they took me inside, I just looked at the room, it was beautifully decorated. It actually seemed like a drug peddler's room. And I had two junior actors, and this one of them was from Brazil, One junior actor was from Brazil. Yeah, he works for some multinational company in Calcutta over here. So he was called in because, when you're selling drugs, if you have a foreigner, it creates an impact, Bengali films believe in that, that traditional, conventional idea. So they got this foreigner. He was a Brazilian. And we started interacting because I realized that communication, as you said, has to be important. Because these two junior actors, I didn't know them from beforehand. Right. So one of them was a karate expert or something, he told me. He was a professional fighter. They had called him. And this other guy was a Brazilian. So I started interacting with them so that, when I'm on the field and when the camera is on, I feel comfortable with them. The problem is because you don't have Mimi, you cannot expect Mimi to come and have a chat with you. You cannot feel comfortable with Mimi. Mimi will only come in when it's her time to get the shot. She's not your friend that
because she's a senior actor. Yeah,
exactly. So that hierarchy works, So I had to make sure that I was comfortable with every other person on the set. So I approached the camera person and these junior actors and some assistant producers and directors, and I made sure that I was holding firm over there. It was important to know these people. Even if I made a mistake, right, they would probably say, okay, we know this guy. Let's give him another chance. So building that rapport is important. And it becomes very difficult when you have an actress of the caliber of Mimi in front of you. When you start, you start literally shivering. and you don't really know what to do, how to approach. And after giving 2 shots, first initial 2 shots, I realized the way I was trying to communicate or pass over the dialogue is not exactly how the director wanted me to utter the dialogues. Right. So I was actually what happened is, when you are tensed, you become stiff. So I was very stiff. First of all, Shagufta Rafiq was very angry that day. The director was angry. Second, Mimi was there. Third, what happens is, you have so many lights on you, right? And so many people observing you. You become conscious.
It's very difficult. We never realize it's not just the camera, but 200 people watching you.
Exactly.
And you have to act like nobody's watching.
Yeah, and then communicating the message becomes difficult. So a dialogue like, "Hello Naren, how are you doing?" At that point of time would have been, "Hello Naren, how are you doing?" That's the difference.
So true.
Okay. So if you're selling drugs, you need to be that casual, shirt up,
Yeah.
So drugs.
Yeah.
That should have been your attitude. And I was like, "You want drugs?"
Yeah.
And the director was literally fuming, because we were already running late, right? We were already running late. She was fuming. And then she came in. She said, "What's wrong with you?" I realized probably this is my first and last, I'm not going to be called again. So I was quite tense, like what's going to happen. And then the director just scolded me and just went down. And I looked at Mimi, and she looked into my eyes, and she said, "Relax." I said, actually, you are such a great actress. Acting in front of you, I'm feeling nervous. She looked at me again and she said, "Hey, come on, relax." She was so chill. And that is when I got that confidence. No, I can perhaps do it. And then I delivered, shot by shot. I did that. And literally I had to pick up, they had made, small, things like they had wrapped up drugs and stuff to show, see, I'm not a druggie. I forgot the exact word for that. They had made small packets of stuff, and like a cigarette, a pipe.
Correct.
And that kept those things, and that used white baking soda. They had literally made this up. And I had to literally, use it, smell it, and enact that I have been taking all this over a long period of time.
You're used to it.
And then the director, again, she was using a microphone from outside. She said, "Gurpreet, start walking, it's time you start walking, and look at her with those amazing wild eyes that you want to eat her with your eyes, something. Do that, you're a villain, come on. You want to molest her, kind of, attitude. Go towards her, go close to her, tell her you want this or not. Do these things." And then she was giving me instructions. I had this earphone on, that start walking to your left, start walking to your right. So that's, see, the communication matters over there. So they give you hints. A suggestion comes. You need to move forward and slap Mimi. That's a part of the scene. If you see the movie, I literally
slap the actress you're scared of.
Yes, I literally hit her. Now, hit her means that there's a way of hitting. You cannot hit it. There are certain techniques that you employ. Right. The technique is, you take your hand very close at full momentum and just take it. So, so when you are doing this, Mimi turns her head in that direction, or the actress turns her head in that direction. And then the edit person puts in the sound and stuff. See, all this is a part of verbal and non-verbal communication. So it's important to understand that.
Amazing. Wow. I'm so happy, and it's amazing. It shows the kind of showman you are. It shows the kind of communicator you are, because all the questions I ask, you give a story with it and then explain it to us. So how wonderful you explained that in acting, the communication is such an important aspect. And one of the big challenges is communication, overcoming that by getting comfortable, by speaking with people, by relaxing. Now I want to come to something different towards the last part of our conversation. You had a good job at India nationally renowned news agency, very good job. And it's very irrational, if you know what I mean, for a lot of people to quit that job and go do something that they really love and pursue. So acting is a big part of your life, and this movie production and getting a message across, being a showman. The other part that you really love is being an educator, and you run an institute. Tell me a little bit about the journey of how you started an institute for yourself, and now how many kids you have in your institute, and you're teaching all these young bright minds and influencing them positively.
Okay. So, when I was in the year 2011, 2012, I was in New Delhi working for NDTV. And then I sort of realized that doing back office jobs was not what I always wanted to do. I always wanted to be either on camera, on the stage, and do something to entertain the people. So after having done 1 year of back office job, I thought enough is enough. It may be NDTV, a renowned channel, but that's not my forte. So I thought, let's go back to Calcutta. And I was a little confused. Like, even if I go to Calcutta, my friends started asking me, "What are you going to do in Calcutta?" I said, "I'll act in films." Without source, nothing. I had nothing. I had no idea. I
You
just
just
had to say something.
had a thought. Wow.
Yes. I just said, just to convince myself. At the end of the day, you do certain things for yourself. So just to, calm down myself, I said, I will become an actor. And I left that place. I came to Calcutta and I was still confused. I got into Jadavpur University to do my postgraduate diploma in journalism and mass communication. So I was still, I was confused. Acting, journalism, acting, journalism. So while I was doing that, I got a contractual job with British Council. They have a speak English section where I was actually, marketing their spoken English courses. So in the process, I started calling up people like, would you like to take up this course? These are the benefits, etc., etc. And I interacted with people. And upon doing that, I realized that the need of the hour, people want to really learn communicative English. So why not start off with something of my own? So I set up this particular institute called Triton, Triton, where I started, giving communicative English classes to people living in remote places in the outskirts of Calcutta, right? Because
Wow.
that is where people travel from those places. They come to Calcutta daily looking for jobs. So there are not good colleges and stuff. So, the communicative English thing is not there. People cannot really, they're not really good, effective communicators. So I thought maybe if I can teach them the basic skills of communication, they can probably at least get a job which will run their family.
Because
And
English is now becoming, you're so right, it's becoming a basic requirement for anybody to be have basic sustenance. And if you have English, even if you don't have a lot of education, you can break through that
right,
cycle of poverty, which is the fortunate or
right,
unfortunate reality in India. If
right.
you just have English skills, a lot of hurdles are crossed automatically. That's
Exactly.
beautiful.
So that is how it started off, and I realized that if I start charging, people hefty sum for the courses like British Council does, so two things will happen. First is these people cannot afford, right? These people coming from the outskirts cannot afford, and secondly,
Wow.
I did not want to, take this up as a business. I thought probably let's do something. Whatever they give me, I return that back, somehow. So that with that
Wow.
process in mind, I started off courses at minimum, say uh, for a month, for in fact for 2 months they hardly paid me 500,000 rupees, and we had 8 classes a month, 16 classes in 2 months. So that is how I took it forward.
Wait,
And
wait,
we
wait.
had those small
So, so,
rewards.
so, so for 2 months, it was like about 500 rupees. So just to set
Yes,
context, that's about $8 for 2 months. And how many
right.
classes for $8 were you giving? About 16 to 24 classes.
16 to 24 classes, and we were
Wow.
literally, we had small rewards and stuff. So if you do well, we give you something, so that they get that encouragement. And then I also tried to, get in touch with people, some of my friends who were already in reputed companies and stuff, IT companies, to see if these people could be hired somewhere. Now once I realized, now this person is perfect for a job, he can probably face or crack an interview, right?
Wow.
8 to 10,000 job at that point of time in 2012, 2013, was great. When you're traveling from the outskirts of the city, when you have nothing and you are striving for a job, if you would get 8,000, 10,000 in a month, that would be something that they would, literally grab it with both hands. And so literally did that, and that is how I tried, extending it. Then I came to Barrackpur. There's this place called Barrackpur where I realized, I was working in a school, Army Public School, Barrackpur. So in this school, I was a spoken English trainer, and I was doing pretty well. Due to acting consignments and stuff, I had to quit. However, when I quit, certain parents started calling me up and said, "Why don't you come over and give private tuitions? It would be great help because our children really love your presence. Because end of the day, uh, we can all teach, right? We can all teach, but few people can connect with their students. And I believe that before you teach, you need to connect with your students. So that is what I always try to do. And so I set up my own place, an institute where now I have students coming. It's not even been an year that I have set up this place, and I have around, I touch, and I'm proud of it, that I touch around 400 to 500 young minds at the present.
In just a year, you have about 450 to 500 kids coming and learning from you.
And I don't know how many thousands I have in the last 10 years. I have also been, part-time teaching and stuff. God knows, thousands of people, they're all doing well in life, and it feels good when they, especially now that, we had Teachers Day, and, you're getting messages. It's a happy Teachers Day from students who were your students, say 5-6 years back. It gives a great feeling. That's it.
That is beautiful. What a beautiful story. I mean, you really are an example of somebody who really lives with their heart front and does what really satisfies them. And that can be seen on your face. Whenever I've seen you, you always have a smile, and people who are watching the video podcast, they know the kind of enthusiasm that you carry can be easily seen. And I think it comes from the fact that you honored to listen to your heart, and you did what really satisfies you. What a beautiful story you have. And it's just the beginning, right? There's so many more years and so many more things to come.
In fact, when I left my job, this private school, this school is paying me quite well. And I was supposed to get married at that point of time. So, I got this job, and what exactly happens in conventional society, you have a good job, and then, the in-laws want their daughter to come to your place. So, a lot of things you have to go through.
Correct.
But I realized that I didn't want to do that end of the day. So I got the job. I was a clever one, I got the job, got married. Let's quit it.
And then you quit the job.
Now your daughter is here. Your daughter cannot go back, right? I quit the job. Done. Enough of it.
Oh man, yeah. But you're doing something that you're happy with, and it's successful now. So I'm sure they are proud of you, and I'm sure your wife is also proud of the decision you took.
Exactly. Yes.
That's amazing. Yes. Brother, to wrap it up, do you have any final comments or final things that you want to ask me? Thank you so much for all the insight that you've provided.
So Naren, all that I would like to say is that I've been observing your podcasts. Brilliant job done. I've literally watched a number of podcasts, and I really feel honored to be here today, speaking to you, and it's been a great pleasure out here. And as you are calm, composed, whenever I look at you, I get a feeling, how can this person be so calm and composed all the time? So that's great, Naren. This is something I need to learn from you. Yeah, I keep smiling the entire day. People look at me and they say, Gurpreet, how do you manage to smile the entire day? Yeah, I keep smiling. But when I look at Naren, I have, a similar kind of question. And for each one watching out there, go out there. Everybody has a lesson to teach you. Learn. I believe that's the only way you can actually succeed in life. So that 5-letter word, learn, is very important in life.
Wow. What a powerful message. You are a showman. You're a teacher. Thank you so much, Mr. Gurpreet Singh. This conversation was truly amazing. I had such a good time. Thanks so much. We will see you very soon.